Okay, so dating can be exciting, right?
Yeah,
But putting yourself out there hoping to connect with someone new, it can be totally nerve-wracking too.
definitely.
Yeah, we've been checking out some listener stories, and wow, they're full of awkward moments we all dread.
Uh-huh.
But get this, the stories they've sent in, they actually have some good lessons in them about turning those awkward moments into something awesome.
Yeah, totally.
And get this, the insights, they're coming from a source you might not expect.
It's interesting, right, how their stories highlight this need to belong.
Need to belong.
Yeah, it's a theory psychologists have been studying.
Okay.
They found this deep human need to be accepted and connected to others. It
Mm-hmm.
really drives our behavior, especially in dating.
So it's not just us overthinking things.
No.
There's actual science behind those butterflies and sweaty palms.
Exactly, that need to belong. It fuels those nerves.
Okay.
Like, take the listener who told us they overcompensate
Mm.
by talking nonstop on dates because they're afraid of seeming quiet
Oh, yeah.
or awkward.
I feel that. Like,
Right.
if I don't fill the silence, they'll think I'm boring.
Exactly. That's that fear of judgment we were talking about.
Right.
First impressions, they matter, and we want to be seen as likable and interesting.
Yeah.
But ironically, this pressure can make things more awkward.
Yeah. It's like trying to squeeze into a pair of jeans that are too small,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
uncomfortable, and they just don't look good.
Perfect analogy.
Thanks.
Another listener told us a story about planning their entire date.
Oh, wow.
Outfit conversation starters, even practicing their smile.
Oh, I've done that.
Have you?
Yeah, the smile practice in the mirror.
But when they finally met their date, it just felt forced and unnatural.
Okay, so what's going on there?
It's the pressure to be liked but taken too far. It's
Oh,
like we create this perfect version of ourselves
right.
that we think will be irresistible, but we end up sacrificing authenticity.
Yeah.
And that genuine connection, it's what we really want.
So how do we break free from this fear-driven dating cycle? Because let's be real, awkward moments, they just happen.
They do.
Coffee spills name, fumbles, tripping, walking into the restaurant.
I've been there.
How do we deal with those situations?
Well, first remember those nerves.
Yeah.
They're normal.
Okay.
They come from a good place wanting to connect,
Right.
accepting that awkwardness is just part of dating.
Right.
That can be freeing.
Wait, so you're saying we should embrace the awkward,
In a way, yes.
lean into it?
Think of it as a chance to connect on a human level.
Okay.
Remember that listener who spilled coffee all over themselves on a first date?
Oh, gosh.
Their first reaction was panic,
I can feel the heat rising just thinking about it.
but then they did something brilliant.
Oh.
They looked at their date and said, well, this is certainly memorable.
Aha.
And their date just burst out laughing.
Okay, so smooth.
Right.
Turning a disaster into a shared laugh.
That's what I mean by reframing,
Yeah.
shifting your perspective,
Right.
finding the humor in a situation that feels mortifying. It shows confidence, vulnerability, and a sense of humor,
Yeah.
which are all attractive qualities.
Right. Plus, it instantly breaks the tension.
Exactly.
It's like saying, hey, I'm not perfect, and that's okay.
Exactly. It creates space for genuine connection to emerge.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, we all have those moments.
Oh, absolutely. I once went on a date, and I totally blanked on the guy's name.
Oh, no.
I wanted to melt into the floor, but I just owned up to it, and we both laughed.
Good.
And the conversation actually flowed better after that.
That's a perfect example of how acknowledging the awkwardness can actually make it less awkward.
Right.
It's like giving yourself permission to be human.
And giving the other person permission to do the same.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about reframing.
Uh-huh.
But what about those moments when your mind goes blank and you just panic?
One of the best techniques is to just be present in the moment.
Okay.
When you feel those nerves spiraling, take a few deep breaths and focus on your senses.
Okay.
What do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell?
It's like hitting the pause button on that inner monologue.
Exactly.
Saying everything's going wrong.
It's called mindfulness.
Okay.
It helps shift your attention away from your anxieties
Right.
and back to the actual experience of the date.
Mm.
We had a listener who told us they use these little mental pauses
Yeah.
during lulls in the conversation
Okay.
to observe their surroundings and just be present.
So instead of overthinking or worrying about what to say next,
Yeah.
you're just focusing on being there with that person.
Exactly. And that
Yeah.
shift in focus, it can make a big difference. It
Oh,
lets you relax and be more open to connection.
It's like you're giving yourself permission to simply be
Uh-huh.
rather than trying to perform or impress.
And that authenticity,
Yeah.
it's more attractive and magnetic than any persona you can create.
Okay, so we've talked about reframing awkward moments
Yes.
and staying present.
Right.
But what about those classic cringe-inducing scenarios?
Yeah.
Like forgetting your date's name Or calling them the wrong name.
Even in those situations, preparation can help.
Really?
Not memorizing facts about your date,
Right.
but mentally preparing for those things to happen.
So like normalizing the awkward?
Exactly. Remember that listener who was on a date and the waiter called them by the wrong name?
Oh, yeah.
Instead of getting flustered, they laughed it off.
So we shouldn't take ourselves too seriously.
Right. Remember, you're both human and these things happen.
Hmm.
When you accept that these slip-ups are going to happen,
Yeah.
you can handle them better.
Okay.
And even use them to create a more relaxed atmosphere.
It's like embracing the unexpected, because dating is full of surprises.
It is.
Some good, some not so good.
Yeah.
But it's how we handle those curveballs that really matters.
Sometimes those awkward moments can actually lead to a genuine connection.
It's like that saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Hmm.
Maybe those cringeworthy moments are building our dating muscles.
I like that you're getting it.
So we've navigated that awkward moment and turned it into something positive.
Right.
Now, how do we carry that confidence into the next date?
Yeah.
Because dating can be a roller coaster,
Oh, yeah.
and it's easy to get discouraged.
Especially if things don't go as planned, which happens a lot.
It does.
It's about how you think about those experiences.
Mhm.
Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, focus on what went well,
Okay.
no matter how small.
Like that listener who said their biggest win on a date that felt super awkward was just making their date laugh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Our brains latch on to negative experiences.
Right.
But we can train ourselves to focus on the positive.
So we should be our own cheerleaders even when things don't go perfectly.
Yes, it's like building positive reinforcement pathways in our brains.
Okay.
Celebrating those small wins, it makes a big difference in how you approach future dates.
Right.
It builds resilience and helps you bounce back from setbacks.
It's like giving yourself a pep talk, reminding yourself that you're capable, worthy, and even funny. Okay, that's a great tip.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still that self-doubt,
I know.
especially after a not-so-great date.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that?
That's where self-compassion comes in.
Okay.
Something we all struggle with,
Yeah.
but it's essential for navigating dating.
I think a lot of people hear self-compassion
Yeah.
and think it's about letting yourself off the hook
Uh-huh.
or making
It's
excuses.
not about that.
Right.
It's about recognizing you're human,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to make mistakes,
Right.
and that's okay.
We had a listener who told us they started giving themselves a break after awkward dates,
Good.
reminding themselves that everyone has those moments.
That's great. That's self-compassion in action.
Okay.
It's about treating yourself with kindness.
Yeah.
The same kindness you'd offer a friend.
So instead of beating yourself up for saying the wrong thing or spilling your drink,
Right.
you're offering yourself a gentle, supportive voice.
Exactly. And that shift in self-talk, it makes a difference in how you feel about yourself and your dating experiences.
It's like you're creating a safe space for yourself to be vulnerable
Uh-huh.
and authentic even when you just want to hide under the table.
And that authenticity is what attracts genuine connection.
It sounds like self-compassion is the antidote to self-sabotage.
I love that.
Yeah.
It lets you show up as your true self flaws and
Yeah.
connect with others without fear of judgment.
Okay, so we've talked about reframing awkward moments,
Yes.
being present,
Mm-hmm.
and practicing self-compassion.
Right.
Any other wisdom to drop on our listeners?
I think it's time to address the elephant in the room.
Okay.
The pressure to find the one.
Right.
What if I told you could take the pressure off dating completely?
Wait, hold on. Take the
Yeah.
pressure off.
Yeah.
But isn't the whole point to find someone special? I'm confused.
Of course, finding a meaningful connection is wonderful.
Yeah.
But when we put so much pressure on dating to lead to a relationship,
Okay.
we create anxiety. And that anxiety, it can block us from connecting authentically.
It's like turning dating into a high-stakes job interview
Yeah.
where you're constantly trying to prove you're worthy of a second date.
That's a great way to put it.
Thanks.
And just like in a high-pressure situation,
Yeah.
we tend to overthink, second-guess ourselves, and ultimately not do our best.
You know, we had a listener who shared that they started enjoying dating more
Oh, God.
when they stopped worrying about finding the one
Mm.
and just let themselves have a good time.
That's the power of shifting your perspective.
Okay.
When you focus on the experience rather than the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
dating becomes more enjoyable, more relaxed,
Right.
and ultimately more successful.
So instead of seeing every date as a potential life partner,
Yeah.
we should see it as a chance to connect with another person
Yes.
and, dare I say, have some fun along the way.
Exactly. It's about embracing the journey with all its ups and downs and letting yourself be surprised by who you meet and what you discover about yourself.
It's like choosing the scenic route instead of the highway.
Aha! I like that.
You might not get there as fast, but the experience is so much better.
It is.
Okay, I'm loving this new perspective on dating. It's like a weight has been lifted.
And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
When you release the pressure and just enjoy the journey, you might stumble upon something truly special.
This has been eye-opening.
It has.
We've learned so much about reframing awkwardness,
Right.
being present, practicing self-compassion,
Yes.
and even taking the pressure off dating. I'm feeling inspired.
Good.
But before we move on to the next part of our deep dive,
Okay.
I have a question that's been swirling in my mind.
Ooh.
We've talked a lot about handling those awkward moments as they happen.
Right.
But how do we shift our overall mindset about dating to make it a more positive and fulfilling experience in the long run?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it brings us to a crucial point.
Okay.
How do we redefine what success actually means when it comes to dating?
Okay, now I'm really intrigued.
Right.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we often define success in dating by external factors.
Okay.
Finding the one, getting into a relationship, reaching certain milestones.
Right.
But what if we redefine success by looking inward?
Like what? Give me some examples.
So what if success in dating was about personal growth?
Okay.
Expanding your social circle and learning more about yourself and what you really want in a partner.
It's like taking the focus off the destination
Yeah.
and putting it on the journey of self-discovery.
Exactly. It's about embracing the experience for what it is.
Right.
A chance to learn, grow, and connect with others.
Yeah.
And that growth can be so empowering.
This is a powerful shift in thinking.
It is.
But before we dive deeper into this idea of redefining success,
Okay.
let's take a short break.
Sounds good.
We'll be back in a moment to continue exploring how to turn those awkward dating moments into opportunities for growth and connection.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so before the break, we were talking about reframing success in dating.
Right.
You really got me thinking about how we put so much pressure on ourselves
Yeah.
to find the one that we forget to enjoy the process.
It's like we're focused on the finish line and miss all the scenery along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do we actually go about redefining success in dating?
Well, it starts with shifting your focus inward.
Okay.
Ask yourself, what do I want to gain from this experience? It might be about building your confidence or learning to communicate better.
Yeah.
Or even just expanding your social circle.
So it's less about checking boxes,
Right.
like first date, second date relationship,
Exactly.
and more about personal growth.
Yes, each date becomes a chance to learn something new,
Okay.
whether it's about yourself or about different perspectives or even about what you want in a partner.
I love that it takes the pressure off finding that perfect match
Yeah.
and lets you be more open to different connections.
Think of it like a taste test. You're sampling different flavors, expanding your palate,
Right.
and discovering what you really like.
And sometimes the most unexpected flavors turn out to be your favorites.
Exactly. You might be surprised by who you connect with
Yeah.
and what you learn about yourself when you approach dating with curiosity.
So it's about embracing the journey, not just the destination,
Right.
but how do we actually make this shift in mindset?
Yeah, it's easy to say don't focus on finding the one,
Right.
but how do we let go of that pressure?
Exactly.
One helpful exercise is to set intentions before each date
Okay.
that are focused on personal growth
Uh-huh.
rather than romantic outcomes.
Can you give me an example?
Sure, instead of going into a date thinking, I hope this person is the one,
Yeah.
try setting an intention, like I want to have a meaningful conversation,
Okay.
or I want to practice being more present and engaged.
That's so simple, but so powerful.
Right.
It shifts the focus from external validation to internal satisfaction.
And here's the interesting thing. When you approach dating from this more authentic place, you might actually be more likely to attract the kind of connection you're looking for.
Because you're not putting on a show
Right.
or trying to be someone you're not.
You're just being yourself.
Yeah, and that's attractive.
Exactly. When you let go of the pressure to perform, you create space for genuine connection.
And who knows, that connection might lead to something more.
It might.
It's like the saying, a watch pot never boils.
Huh. Yeah.
When you stop obsessing over the outcome, things tend to flow more naturally.
I like that analogy.
Thanks.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
First, remember, those dating jitters are totally normal.
Yes, they come from a human need for connection.
And awkward moments are going to happen.
They are.
But instead of fearing them, embrace them
Yeah.
as chances to connect on a human level.
Reframing those awkward moments with humor and self-awareness
Yeah.
can make you more relatable and create a shared laugh.
Absolutely. Don't forget the power of being present.
Yes.
When those nerves start to spiral,
Uh-huh.
take some deep breaths,
Yeah.
ground yourself in your senses,
Right.
and focus on connecting with the person in front of you.
And above all, practice self-compassion.
Yes, dating can be tough.
It can be.
So be kind to yourself, forgive yourself for those slip-ups,
Mm-hmm.
and celebrate the small wins along the way.
And finally, let's challenge the idea that dating has to be this high-pressure quest for the one.
Right, what if we viewed it as a chance for personal growth, self-discovery, and connection?
Imagine the possibilities.
Yeah, you might be surprised at the connections you make
You might.
and the experiences you have when you let go of expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And just enjoy the journey.
I'm so glad we had this conversation.
Me too. It's been so enlightening.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
We have from tackling those awkward moments to redefining success
Right.
and even bringing more playfulness into our dating lives.
I feel like I have a whole new outlook on dating.
Me too. I'm feeling inspired. But before we say goodbye,
Okay.
I have one final question.
What's that?
We've talked about how to handle awkward moments
Yeah.
and redefine success in dating.
Uh-huh.
But what does it actually look like to create a fulfilling and joyful dating experience?
That's a great question.
Yeah, how do we move beyond just surviving those awkward encounters
Right.
and actually thrive in the dating world?
I think it comes down to cultivating a sense of playfulness
Okay.
and curiosity.
Tell me more about that. What do you mean by playfulness?
Think back to when you were a kid
Okay.
and dating was this exciting, unknown adventure.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't overthink every interaction.
Right.
You just approached it with curiosity and wonder.
It was all about having fun and exploring.
Exactly. And while dating as an adult is more complex,
Yeah.
I think we can learn from that childlike playfulness.
So you're suggesting we approach dating like a game?
Not in a manipulative way, of course.
Aye.
It's about approaching each date with a lighthearted and open mind.
R-
Not like a job interview or a performance.
It's about rediscovering that excitement and possibility
Yes.
that we lose as we get older.
And when you approach dating with that playful energy,
Yeah.
you're more likely to attract people who are looking for a fun and engaging connection.
That makes sense. So it's not about playing games with people's hearts,
No.
but about bringing joy and adventure to the experience.
Exactly. It's about remembering that dating is a journey.
Mhm.
And like any good journey, it's meant to be enjoyed.
So how do we actually cultivate this playfulness and curiosity?
That's a great question.
Yeah, what are some practical tips for our listeners?
That's the question that deserves its own conversation.
Okay, I'm intrigued. I think our listeners will be too.
Yeah.
So we'll delve into those practical tips for bringing more playfulness and curiosity into your dating life in the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. We'll be back in a moment to explore how to transform your dating experience from awkward to awesome by tapping into that inner childlike sense of adventure.
All right, so we're back, ready to wrap up this deep dive into dating. We've talked about reframing awkward moments, being present, practicing self-compassion, and even redefining success.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
It has. But before we say goodbye, we promise some practical tips for bringing more playfulness and curiosity into the dating game.
Right. It's all about rediscovering that sense of adventure we had as kids.
Right, when every new experience was a chance to explore and discover.
Exactly.
So how do we bring that back into our adult dating lives?
Well, one way is to be more open to trying new things.
Yeah.
Step outside your comfort zone and break free from those rigid dating scripts we all fall into.
I like that. So instead of the same old restaurant or activity,
Yeah.
try something completely different.
Exactly. Go rock climbing, take a cooking class, visit a new museum, or even explore a new part of town.
It's like shaking up the snow globe
Uh-huh.
and seeing where the snowflakes land.
You might discover new interests and passions you never knew you had.
You'll definitely have some stories to tell, even if the date isn't a romantic home run.
True. And let's be honest, not every date has to lead to a relationship.
Right. It's about enjoying the experience
That's it.
and learning along the way.
Absolutely. Another way to cultivate playfulness is to add some humor
Okay.
and lightheartedness to your interactions.
I think we all need a good laugh, especially when it comes to dating.
We do. It can be so serious and stressful.
So don't be afraid to be silly.
Right.
Tell a cheesy joke or even make a self-deprecating comment.
It's about not taking yourself too seriously
Yeah.
and showing you're comfortable being vulnerable.
It can also break the ice
Yeah.
and diffuse any tension.
Plus, who doesn't love someone who can make them laugh?
A good sense of humor is a big plus in the dating world for sure.
And finally, I encourage you to be curious.
Mhm.
Instead of going in with a checklist of must-haves,
Mhm.
try just being curious about the person.
So like treating it as a chance to learn something new.
Exactly. Ask open-ended questions, listen actively, and be present in the conversation.
Like reading a good book. You don't know what's going to happen next, but you're excited to find out.
Exactly. And that curiosity, it might just spark a connection you didn't
This
expect.
has been so enlightening.
It has.
We covered so much.
We have from awkward moments to redefining success.
Yeah. And bringing more playfulness into dating.
It's been a pleasure exploring this topic.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one message you want listeners to take away?
Dating doesn't have to be stressful or anxiety-ridden.
Right.
It can be an opportunity for growth, connection, and even fun.
I love that.
So go out there, embrace the awkwardness, be kind to yourself, and remember to play.
And who knows, you might just discover that the secret to finding love is simply enjoying the journey.
Until next time, stay curious, stay open, and keep diving deep